right, so several days ago, Joe Biden was at a NATO summit, and I want to discuss something very briefly. It's a question that he was asked by a reporter. I'm going to play for you the question in its entirety, and then I'm going to cut the video just to show you a brief part of his response, parts that I thought were pretty interesting, and then I want to discuss it.
There's a presidential election coming up in 2024, and as you know,
kidding.
there are yes, that's true. And there are widespread concerns in Europe that a figure like your predecessor, maybe even your predecessor himself, might get elected president again. Are there any steps, anything you are trying to do, and NATO is trying to do here these days, to prevent what you're trying to do becoming undone 2 years from now?
No, that's not how I think of this. I've been dealing with foreign policy for longer than anybody that's involved in this process right now. We're a long way off in elections, a long way off. My focus, if any election, is on making sure that we retain the House and the United States Senate so that I have the room to continue to do the things that I've been able to do in terms of grow the economy and deal in a rational way with American foreign policy and lead the world. Be the leader of the free world. So, but it's not an illogical question for someone to ask. I say to people at home, imagine if we sat and watched the doors of the Bundestag broken down and police officers killed and hundreds of people storming in. Or imagine if we saw that happening in the British Parliament or whatever. How would we feel? And one of the things that I take some solace from is I don't think you'll find any European leader who thinks that I am not up to the job. And I mean that sincerely. It's not like, whoa, that. The point is that when the first G7 meeting I attended, like the one I did today, was in Great Britain. And I sat down and I said, America's back. And one of my counterparts, colleagues, as head of state, said, "For how long? For how long?" And so I don't criticize anybody for asking that question. But the next election, I'd be very fortunate if I had that same man running against me. Thank you very, very much.
All right, so as you saw there, it was a reporter asking current president of the United States, Joe Biden, there's an election coming up, and, are you afraid? Are you worried? I believe is how he phrased it, that the quote unquote, or just paraphrasing here, the work that you've done will be undone by the incoming administration or next incoming administration, assuming that they are the opposition party, so to speak. And Joe Biden's response is amazing to me because it just goes to show, certain things never change. Certain things never change. And it's hard to change when you're corrupt, which is what he and the rest of them are. And so I want to just get into this by touching on the remarks that I showed you that I want to discuss. So this is amazing because in terms of the general sentiment in the country, they're kind of united on the issue of they think that his presidential tenure has been a failure. His approval rating is at an all-time low. I just saw a number that said 33%, and it's been consistently in the low, mid-30s or whatever for quite some time now. I mean, we're teetering in George W. Bush territory. We're not that low yet. Who knows if we'll get there, but we're damn sure swimming in unterritoried waters here. I don't even know if I said that phrase correctly, but here we are. Nonetheless, people aren't happy. They're very upset. And the sentiment across the country is we don't like what you're doing as commander-in-chief in terms of servicing your general populace. Damn what's going on in Ukraine. Damn what's going on across the world in places that we cannot control. Okay? What's going on here at home? You aren't improving our lives, and therefore we kind of want you out of here. And the polls suggest that they will end up getting put out of there after the midterms, after the next election. But that's neither here nor there. I don't want to make predictions in this video. That's not what this is. But he said something that I thought was great. He says that my focus of any election is to retain the House and the Senate, basically, and for him to be able to continue to do the things that he's been able to do. That's pretty grand, isn't it? You know what's funny? He currently has the House and the Senate, and he's not doing anything with it. I mean, the inaction of the Biden administration has been striking. And look, all right, okay, you want to hit me with the argument, oh, well, Joe Manchin, Kyrsten Sinema, the moderates, they're not really moderates, they're corporate extremists. But let's say, oh, it's the moderates. Okay, fine. As the president of the United States, you have a vast amount of power to do things through, say, executive order, for instance. I mean, I'll just give you a couple examples. Expanding civil liberties. One example is to legalize marijuana. Helping out your general populace with their debt. One is getting rid of the student loan debt that the borrowers that pursued higher education can never pay back. Another is, so in that Build Back Better that never happened and isn't going to happen, one of the provisions was lowering prescription drug prices for Americans. You know, the president actually has the power to do that himself. He can, through the powers that he has as president, he can do what he can to help to lower prescription drug prices. Joe Biden isn't doing that. That's something that wouldn't get passed through Congress because Congress is taking so much money from Big Pharma. They've bought them off. They bought off our government. They're one of the people with their hands in the pot of the U.S. government. Big Pharma is. And so they're contributing to the corrupt pool that it is. And so that's, of course, not going to get passed through Congress. Of course not without any strong arming, which somebody like Joe Biden isn't going to provide because he's a big recipient of Big Pharma and health insurance money as it is. So that's pretty much a pipe dream. But the fact of the matter is he has the power to do it. And now I want to get to the last remark that I thought was the most amazing. He says that he'd be very fortunate to run against Trump again. He didn't say Trump's name specifically, I don't think, but he said he'd be very fortunate to run against that man again. Be careful what you wish for, Joe. Be careful what you wish for. Look, man, all signs are pointing to the fact that Donald Trump will be running again for president of the United States. We don't know for sure, but that looks like it's going to be Joe. If either of these two men hold on, let's just say that because they're both incredibly old. If both of them hold on until 2024, then it'll probably be them two. But if they don't, who knows what can happen. But it'll probably be them two. And he says he would want nothing more than to run against Trump. Oh, boy. Because, I mean, look, the polls are saying one thing. Of course, we've seen different things happen in the past. But as I alluded to before, the sentiment in the country is the same as it's always been. And it's this ever so reoccurring pendulum swing from one party to the other, this forever oscillation that we keep getting from Democrat to Republican to Democrat to Republican. And then the same thing goes on and on and on and on, and you get the picture. And so there's no reckoning, is what I'm trying to say. There's absolutely no reckoning, and you can expect this trend to continue as long as our political system remains to be as corrupt as it is. And most importantly, us, the people, the general populace, continue to deal with it.